Hi there, I heard you're an English teacher. Can you tell me more about the future perfect continuous tense?
Sure, I'd be happy to explain it to you. The future perfect continuous tense is used to describe an action that will have been in progress for a certain amount of time by a specific point in the future. For example, by 10 p.m. tonight, I will have been working for 8 hours.
Okay, I think I understand. How do you form the future perfect continuous tense?
To form the future perfect continuous tense, you use the auxiliary verb will have been, followed by the present participle of the main verb. For example, I will have been studying for 3 hours by the time you arrive.
That makes sense. What's the difference between the future perfect continuous and future perfect tenses?
The future perfect continuous tense emphasizes the duration of an action up to a certain point in the future, while the future perfect tense simply describes the completion of an action at a certain point in the future. For example, by tomorrow, I will have been running for an hour. Versus, by tomorrow, I will have run for an hour.
Okay, I think I'm starting to understand. Can you give me some examples of sentences in the future perfect continuous tense?
Sure, here are a few examples. By this time next week, I will have been living in this city for 3 years. They will have been traveling for 2 days straight by the time they reach their destination. By the time the party starts, I will have been preparing food for 5 hours.
Thanks for explaining that to me. It's starting to make sense now.
No problem, I'm glad I could help. Do you have any other questions, or would you like to practice using the future perfect continuous tense in some sentences?
Actually, could we practice using it in some sentences?
Of course. How about this sentence? By the end of the day tomorrow, I will have been working on this project for 2 weeks. Can you try to create a sentence using the future perfect continuous tense based on that?
Sure, how about? By next month, I will have been taking this English course for 6 months.
Great job! You've got it.
Hi, I'm trying to improve my English, and I was wondering if you could explain how to use the future perfect continuous tense.
Of course, I can help with that. The future perfect continuous tense is used to describe ongoing actions that will continue up until a certain point in the future. It is formed using the auxiliary verb will have been, followed by the present participle of the main verb.
Okay, that sounds a bit complicated. Can you give me an example?
Sure, how about this? By this time next year, I will have been studying English for 6 months. This sentence means that the action of studying English will continue up until this time next year, and at that point, it will have been ongoing for 6 months.
Oh, I see. So, the future perfect continuous tense is used to describe an ongoing action up to a certain point in the future.
That's right. And it's important to note that the future perfect continuous tense emphasizes the duration of an action rather than the completion of it.
Okay, that makes sense. What are some examples of situations where you would use the future perfect continuous tense?
Well, here's an example. By the time we arrive at the beach, my sister will have been surfing for 3 hours. This sentence means that at the time we arrive, the action of surfing will have been ongoing for 3 hours.
Got it. And what about the meaning and nuance conveyed by using the future perfect continuous tense?
Using the future perfect continuous tense can convey a sense of dedication or persistence towards an ongoing action. For example, by the time I finish this book, I will have been reading for 6 hours straight. This sentence suggests that the speaker is determined to finish the book and has been reading for a long time to do so.
I see what you mean. Can you give me some more examples of using the future perfect continuous tense in different contexts?
Sure, how about these? By the time the concert starts, the band will have been rehearsing for 2 hours. I will have been waiting for the bus for half an hour by the time it arrives. By the end of the day, I will have been sitting in this meeting for 4 hours.
Okay, I think I understand. Thank you for explaining the usage and meaning of the future perfect continuous tense to me.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions, or if you'd like to practice using the tense in some sentences, just let me know.
Hi, can you help me understand how to use time expressions with the future perfect continuous tense?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to help. Time expressions are important when using the future perfect continuous tense because they tell us when the ongoing action will end. Some common time expressions used with this tense include by, for, since, and until.
Okay, that makes sense. Can you give me an example of using a time expression with the future perfect continuous tense?
Sure, how about this sentence? By the time I finish this project, I will have been working on it for a month. In this sentence, the time expression, for a month, tells us how long the action of working on the project has been ongoing.
Okay, I think I understand. What about the sentence structure and subject-verb agreement in the future perfect continuous tense?
Good question. The sentence structure for the future perfect continuous tense is subject plus will have been plus present participle of the verb plus time expression. It's important to remember to use the correct form of the verb, to be, in the present participle, which is been.
Can you give me an example of a sentence using the correct sentence structure for the future perfect continuous tense?
Sure, how about this? She will have been studying for 6 hours by the time the exam starts. In this sentence, the subject, she, comes before the auxiliary verb, will have been, followed by the present participle, studying, and the time expression, for 6 hours.
Okay, that seems straightforward enough. Can you give me some more examples of sentence structures and time expressions used with the future perfect continuous tense?
Of course, here are some examples. By the time we get there, the team will have been practicing for 2 hours. He will have been living in London for 5 years by the time he moves back to his hometown. They will have been traveling for a week when they finally reach their destination.
Thanks for the examples. Just to clarify, do I always need to use a time expression with the future perfect continuous tense?
No, It's not always necessary, but it can be helpful in providing context and specifying when the ongoing action will end. You can use the tense without a time expression, and the sentence will still be grammatically correct.
Okay, I think I understand. Thank you for explaining the time expressions and sentence structure of the future perfect continuous tense to me.
You're welcome. Remember, if you have any more questions, or if you'd like to practice using the tense in some sentences, just let me know.